Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Now please welcome to the ice for their pregame warm-up, presented by Scott Credit Union. Your St.
Hockey Fan Report. Aloha and mahalo. Oh, Ashley wasn't hearing me. I guess she had to pull out for a second. Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to a kind of sort of special edition of the Blue Note Fan Report. Ashley was just there with us. Yes, Brad, we know you are a Blues fan for life. There is no doubt in our mind that you are a Blues fan for life. Trust me, my friend. We love you when you're on the show. You're a great asset to it. Earlier today, I had gotten a message from Lance saying that you're not hearing me. Is anybody else not hearing me? One, two.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, there we go. Did you have something off?
Yeah, my kids were playing with my laptop earlier, so.
Okay, there we go. First thing first, let the shenanigans go. Shenanigans bin. Go Army, sink Navy. Shockley, kiss my Navy ass. Love you to death. But, yes, you can kiss my Navy ass.
Can't we all
Go
just
Navy.
get along?
No, not this week. Not this week. Not this week at all.
Oh, there's Allie.
I see that face. Yeah, Ryan, you're a Blues fan for life. I know E's a Blues fan for life. I know Buckley's a Blues fan for life. We all are. A lot of things going on in the NHL today. In fact, Vancouver is I mean, the rumors I'm hearing right now is they're going to fire their coach and hire Bruce Boudreau.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is coming like last minute here. Vancouver's been a sinking ship for a while. I'm not completely sure why it's been as bad as it's been. I thought they'd be a little bit better team, but they're just not. There's no connectivity. There's no Hockley. Yeah, so I guess I said it wrong. Sorry, bud. It's interesting what's happening there. It really is. And this bringing Boudreau in. So I've been watching him a lot on the NHL Network, right? He's been on NHL Now. He's been on NHL Tonight. On NHL Now, really, he has an understanding of player, right?
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. I appreciate the way he talks about other players and the way he talks about the game. I think that he will do good. Ryan says sometimes you have players that other teams just don't want, and that's what you're dealt with. Well, I don't think that they're really in that. First of all, they have Oliver Ekman-Larsson, right? They got him from. Say again?
I was like, wasn't he from Phoenix?
Yeah, from Phoenix. got to get some air on me. From Phoenix, and I thought that he would, do good up there. They had a decent goaltending situation. That's kind of gone away. Tonight, oh man, he let one in. Hopefully, I got one. Elliott destroyed the Lightning 7-1 over the Flyers. Right, 39. He was 38 for 39.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, how much did he help me or hurt me? I think he helped me because he gave me a win, and the other guy doesn't have a goalie going today. But I really needed the shutout. The shutout would have absolutely helped. So I ended up winning all the goalie categories but one because their goalie got an assist. So I ended up with 3 wins, 2 wins. I had 6 goals against, 7 goals against. I had a 195 GA to 228. I had 150 saves to 106, and at a 950 save percentage of 938. So that helped me. I'm losing this week 8-11, and I don't see it. I mean, I really need like Nugent Hopkins. I need him to score some goals. I need Muzzin from Toronto to get something. Marcia Shaw, Brown, and Brown's game. Brown got an assist, but I'm still like way behind. Mm-hmm. So another one in the books where I'm like, yeah. And the thing is, I'm losing to one of the worst teams in the league too.
You poor thing.
Yeah, I know. Here, Chiefs post conference. I heard some of it, and I seen the article that Tim Thomas put out today. I guess I'm not completely on board with this right now. For them to say Tarasenko's not playing well, I mean, he's not playing offensively well, but you don't have him in an offensive position. You have him. You've Jamie Tarted him. You've had Lasso Jamie Tart, right? Mm-hmm. You turned him into an average player. You took away by making him be this forechecker, this defensive two-way player. You've taken away what he needs to be to score goals. And I'm sorry. Look at what he's doing. Last game he didn't even fire a shot.
And he only played 14 minutes.
Yeah, he's not performing enough. It's all about that. See, and this is, you know what? You want to know the reason why Tarasenko wants to go? It's right there. Right? Mm-hmm. It is. It's right there. And it's, I don't know. For me, it consistently, I'm not in Montreal coach get fired. He could, but I don't think he will. I think that they're going to.
And I don't understand how he's saying that he's not doing well when he's third in scoring on our team.
The last week he hasn't, and I don't think he's had anything. He's been at 7 goals for a while.
He has, but everybody's streaky. Look at how long freaking O'Reilly went stuck at, 3 before he finally got his 4th.
Yeah. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Right. I guess part of it is I learned Japanese a little bit, and the Japanese pronunciation has kind of like slipped into my English pronunciation, so that like messes me up a little bit. And I've always been really bad with names, man. Because like on a ship, we would have just called him Shocked, right? We would have called him Shockley or anything. We just called him Shocked, right? On the ship, I was a lot of times just Ben. Mm-hmm. You nickname a lot, so that's where some of that comes from. I did send Lance a link to see if he felt better. Yeah. I don't know if he'll come on or not, but we'll talk for a little while and see what everybody's got to say.
Oh yeah.
And Ryan, that's exactly right. Other coaches would play him as a sniping forward. That's absolutely, and I think if he got back to that, he'd start scoring goals. But that's not what you want him doing, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if we're freezing, Mary, it might be on your end. because we're
Yeah.
not freezing on our end. So you might want to try and log out, log back in, and see if that's on your end.
Or get closer to your router if you can.
Yeah, that could be it. They're showing the highlights of the Columbus Sharks game. I think that one was high score too. They've had some good games in the NHL today. That's
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
They sure have. And even last night, the 4 games that started at 7 all went to overtime.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the games last.
I didn't get to watch them, but I was following them. But yeah,
Excuse me. Wow, Blue Jackets just tore this one up.
Yeah.
No, Tampa really set themselves on fire, and Elliott getting that start on a back-to-back. I know what that comment is about. I'm the supervisor, so. Oh my goodness.
Yay!
Oh my goodness. Everybody, you're in for a treat.
Hey, Lance.
Hello.
We have Lance from the Drop Hockey Podcast to Scott with us today. Lance, are you feeling any better, buddy?
A little bit.
Okay, well, I mean, we're glad to have you on. Normally we take Sunday off, but you had said you wanted to show today, and
Yep.
you were feeling a little better. So and then you came back and said you weren't. So we were kind of worried about you, but we're glad to have you.
Well, thanks. It's good to be on.
Yeah, we worry about you a lot, buddy, and that's just an honest assessment there.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Right. Well, I got a question for you. You were talking about the other day in our chat, talking about some of the goals that Husso had given up, and how you didn't put the loss on Husso, and this was the 4-2 to Tampa, right? Not the last one. This was the 4-2 loss to Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Now I felt 2 of the goals were dead on him, right? I know one of them was a bad clearing that got intercepted, but he was one-on-one and he made the first move, right? So to me, if he waits, and it goes in and it goes in, then okay, but you can't make the first move. I mean, is that true or wrong?
If you anticipate it correctly, you can make the first move. If you feel like a guy's going in a certain direction with the puck, you can, but you don't want to give that position up to the last very minute, because otherwise the shooters will beat you. And I think that was the Hedman goal that made it 3-2. Yeah. Victor Hedman's a good player. And I think Scandella's the one that was default on that one.
Yeah. He had left him. He had left him. He had pulled in closer. If Scandella gets that clearing pass, not an issue. But he misses the clearing pass, and he's not there. And then it's Hedman and so. But see, the next one though, I kind of put on Husso too, and this was Hedman off the face-off, because this was the face-off that went all the way back to the blue line, and then Hedman takes a shot. When that face-off goes straight to the blue line, doesn't the goal? I mean, you almost see every goalie start cheating to the left, right? Husso never cheats over, never starts over, and that's why he's locked the whole time, and it gets in just a small bit of area where if he's over to the left, it's not there.
Well, he's making a judgment of where that puck's going to go, number one. Number two, Victor Hedman's a good player. He's a really, really good player. And I'm not saying you're doing this, but a lot of people forget. Yeah, Husso gets paid to stop shots, but Victor Hedman gets paid to play defense and score. He's a very, very good player, offensively and defensively. And in those instances, I'm sure Husso would like to have that one back. But that's the kind of stuff that happens in a game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, earlier in that game, Barbashev went in and did a backhand and hit the goalpost. nobody's blaming the loss on Barbashev because Barbashev had plenty of room to go over the top of Vasilevsky and score that goal. Then there's another guy, Tarasenko, missed the net 2 or 3 times. You're not blaming him for the loss because he should have scored on those because Tarasenko's paid to score. I'm saying that there's other things that go on in a game to pin a whole game just on a goaltender. And if a goaltender's bad the whole game, yeah, you can kind of say, hey, he's been terrible this whole game. But in my mind, Husso kept them in that game early when they had pressure on him. And like I said, he would love to have number 3 and number 4 back. And in most instances, he's going to make those saves. So I think there's plenty of blame to go around for that loss, including the roster and the way it is right now with COVID and guys, being out. And it's just not a good situation for them. And they're treading water. And I never like to put anything on a guy. But, if you really want to be honest and say it, I would say Scandella is more to blame for that loss than Husso. Husso can take some of the blame. I do agree with that because every goalie that gives up a goal like that and makes a misjudgment and where his angle needs to be, it can be on you. But, he was screened a little bit. But, it's just there's plenty of blame to go around when a team loses. And like I said, including all of their issues right now with their roster. And the NHL, in my mind, needs to do something about it because, guys, the COVID's not going away. There's new variants coming all the time. And you cannot run a league to where you allow teams to get down to, 18 skaters or 19 skaters or whatever and expect them to put a good product on the ice. I thought the Blues have played very well in that game. And they played well against the Panthers, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Husso played very well. What was it, 52 shots on goal?
And he made 48 saves.
Yeah, I mean, hey, when you get up in the 50s on goal, you're dependent a lot on your goalie and not enough on your defense. And the Blues are just thin on defense, and they've got some young guys that I think are playing well, but they're just not experienced enough to make that extra difference in a game.
I want to bring this up because this is a good question. I mean, and I know E played goalie too. Says Lance, you were a goalie. What goal that you allowed that you didn't want back? That's saying he wants that one back. I disagree with that a little bit, and I'm not. I don't want to. Don't take it the wrong way, E. Because there's goal when you get when they get a 2-on-1 and they just get it across or a pass and it's in you don't even have a chance to get over. That's not on you. That's on the defense for allowing you to be hung out to dry like that. But there's times where, and I'll give a good example. The one that bounced off the
boards,
the glass, and shot back over. Mm-hmm. That went under Bennington's, bounced over his stick and went in the net. Right. That's one that he wishes he would have never lost sight of. So I get that. There's times where, you want them all back, but not. I mean, they're not going to get them all back.
Exactly. There's times where you do everything you can, and let's say you're going up in the 80s. When I was a teenager, and Wayne Gretzky's coming up against you. As a goalie, you can take a proper angle to that puck, and a lot of times he's going to score that goal because that's what he's paid to do, and you realize that hey. They just beat me. That guy beat me fair and square. I had my angle, but he was able to get it over my shoulder or between my armpit or whatever. And you got to give him credit. And you do want all the goals back, but that's not why that saying started. It's kind of like a guy, there's times when you you think you've got the right angle and a guy fools you and he goes glove side and not stick side. And hey, good. It's good for him that he scored, but if you'd have taken the right angle, that puck, you'd have had a 98% chance of saving it. So I don't see anything wrong with saying a guy wants a goal back, because when somebody beats you fair and square, it sucks. It does. But you got to skate it off and give them credit because, like I said, they're paid to score.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, one of the things that I look at, and I think this happened to Allen, the puck hit Allen on the shoulder, went straight up the glass, bounced back, hit Allen in the back, and then went in the net, right? I mean, of course, that's one Allen's going to go, how do you defend that, right? You put your back up. He didn't even know where the puck was. He didn't know it was coming back off that net. There's some of those crazy bounces and things like that. And I remember, oh man, I don't remember who this was. I know this was on the Blues. It might have been against them, or I think it was against them. And this had to be in the late '80s, early '90s. There was a shot from the red line, just like a clearing pass, right? Like a clearing pass that hit something and bounced and ended up bouncing over. I think it might have been Joseph. I might have bounced over Joseph sticking in, right?
Yeah, I remember
that. Was it Joseph?
It was either Joseph or could it have been Vincent Riandu? Remember him?
It might have been. This was late 80s.
It was right around that time. And you know what? That's one of the worst things in the world because you see a guy shoot it from there, and a lot of times you ain't going to get that bounce. And you see this puck bouncing, and it's going one way, and if it hits the ice again, it can go another way. I hated those because even if you take the right angle and let's say it's shot towards the middle of the net and you come out a little bit and you take the right angle, go down and you think you've got it. And all of a sudden at that last minute, it takes one more bounce that goes over your shoulder. There's really nothing you could do about it because bouncing pucks go in all the time. Pucks go in off the players. Pucks go in off the glass. It happens several times through the year. It's not going to be the last time it happened this year with Bennington. It happens a lot throughout the league. And, I know a lot of people have been negative about the Blues in these last two games, but, like you guys have been talking about in the last games, I thought they've played pretty well considering their roster. And I'm not a big fan of a good loss. And I understand what Guy says when he says that, because there are some losses where you can take away good things from. There definitely are. And I think, this team knows that they gave some good effort and they could have beaten the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Oh, absolutely.
I thought they played good enough to win. In fact, for a lot of the game, I thought they played better than the Lightning did in that second game. And they hung with Florida and they allowed Florida to come back. And we've seen it with this team, especially with a team that's missing people. You can't let a team come back on you. You got to play sound defense and not make mistakes. Get the puck out of your end quickly. Don't mess around with the puck in your end when you have a lead. Make soft, crisp, safe passes and pay attention to where you're supposed to be in your area when they do come in and put pressure on you. And I thought the Blues did a bad job of that in the third period. And that's why you were able to see so many shots in the third. And that's why Florida was able to come back and win it in a shootout. But hey, I give Husso big credit in that game against Florida because it could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah. It could have been 6-7-0 for a while.
Yeah.
No, Husso was dead on the best goalie in that game. I mean, he played better than Bobrovsky. I'll say that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he faced at least 3 times as many good chances, maybe 4 times than Bobrovsky did. I thought Bobrovsky had it, even though the Blues took the lead, and I thought, but his goals weren't he should have made at least one of those saves on those 2 goals or those 3 goals. And, but you're right. Ville Husso being a young guy, 24, 25, I believe he is, and not with a lot of NHL experience. I thought he's been playing pretty well since he's come in. And it could be a lot worse, guys. There's a lot of teams in this league that don't have a decent backup, and they're more of an AHL type backup because of salary issues. I think Husso's did pretty well.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that. Sorry, Ashley, I didn't. But what I saw was a team that looked at the team across from them, said, "You may be the number 1 team in the league, but you're not getting a win off of us." And I felt like they played that way, right? Just getting that one last goal off of Husso. At the end there, the shootout almost always goes, well, I don't know. It's hard to say, depending on who you put out there. Now, I will say this. Ottawa screwed up with Logan Brown because that kid can play. Right?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see him up here the whole time when they get healthy. I think he's going to go back and forth, but maybe he'll surprise me and they'll keep him up here and let him play and get some experience. He's a big kid. He's tall. He's not really big. He's a little lanky, but he's a tall kid. And, when you have that kind of reach and you have that lankiness, you can be deceiving with your speed sometimes. And I'm not saying he's as fast as Kyrou or Thomas, but he's got some good legs on him, and he's got some great hands, some really, really good hands. Mm-hmm. And you can tell, if you look at this kid, you can tell that he was raised by a father that knows hockey, because when he's out there, does he make mistakes because of inexperience? Yeah, but you can tell he knows his way around the ice.
Oh, yeah. No, I see that 100%. But I'll tell you what I saw out of him was a penchant for the net and a goal scorer's touch.
Right? Yeah, he's got a good shot. He's got a really nice shot. Mm-hmm. I also noticed with him, and a lot like Kostin, when Kostin gets a chance to play, they're normally around the puck. And that's a good sign. When you see young players always being around the puck, that shows that they've got some good puck sense. They know where the puck is on the ice. They know where they're supposed to be. They don't go out of their way to get to the puck. That puck always seems to find them, whether it's defensively in a two-way game with Kostin or whether it's offensively. These young kids the Blues have, if they're coached properly and allowed to thrive and put in situations where they can succeed, like I've talked to you and Ashley before, they can be good players. And I do agree. I think Ottawa gave up on him way too early. They didn't give him a good enough chance to really prove himself. And I'm hoping the Blues do give him some chance, even if it's not for the whole year, that he does get 30 games, maybe 25, 30 games, get him some experience. But dang, if he keeps playing the way he's been playing, you've got to find a way to get him in the lineup.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what I do see is, I see some possibilities for some trades coming up. I could see Bozak being traded, because Joshua is playing himself. All
right, I'm seeing this question here. That's a good question on my part. What does being 6'7" have a difference between being
Panger? Yeah. No, Panger's 5'6".
Oh, you want me to tell you the difference in a goalie between 6'7" and 5'6"? Yeah. He covers up a lot more of the net, up in north and south and east and west. The last time I played goal on skates, I'm 6'6". On skates, I'm 6'6" and 250. You want to talk about somebody that takes up net? Yeah, when you're big like that and you go down and you come out and take the angle, that shooter can't see any net because you're coming out and you're so big. They can't see it. That's the difference between a 5'6" goalie and a 6'7" goalie.
No, I agree with you, and I see that. But when you put it to a forward or a defenseman, like a lot have been made of Krug being a smaller defenseman, because bigger ones knock him off. No, it's a great question, Tanner. Great question.
Yeah, that's if he's talking about normal position players, guys that are bigger, they normally have longer arms and they've got a longer reach, so they don't have to get right up on a guy to make a play on a puck. They can poke check. They can get to the area a lot quicker. They can get to the puck a lot quicker. Longer sticks, longer arms, longer legs. It's the taller you are in the NHL. And when I was a kid, you seen some guys around 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", but most teams, the average height was about 5'10", 5'9". If you saw a guy 6'3", 6'4", he was. Do you remember Keith Primo, a guy for the for the Red Wings?
Yeah,
he was a beast for the time of the game he played. I think he was 6'4", 6'5", and 260. He was a big man, and being big makes a difference. You can dominate, even being skinnier and taller. You can take up more space, and it just makes a difference in your game. Not that a 6'6", 6'7" guy is better, but if he's got good skills and good hands and good eyesight and is able to make good crisp passes and make smart decisions, that size can only help him. It never hinders him.
Yeah, no. Well, I ran into Tony Twist while I was in St. Louis, right? Tony Twist, I think, is 5'10", 5'11".
He's 5'11", yeah.
Right? I'm 6'2", so but this man is wide.
He's wide.
He was big, and unfortunately he walks kind of funky now because of his injury. But he, when he was on the ice, he was just solid. Yeah. Zombo, Rick Zombo. I've been around Zombo. I'm taller than Zombo, and I have that picture where I'm standing with the Brady boy, right? they're on skates, and I'm almost, my head isn't that far under them. Right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Sometimes guys measure themselves on skates, and
Yeah.
like I've stood next to Chris Pronger. He's about an inch and a half, 2 inches taller than me, so he is about 6'5.5", 6'6". But sometimes they kind of over measure these things, because there's been a few players I've stood next to that are supposed to be my height, and they're a good 2 to 3 inches shorter than me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not always about size; it's what you do with that size. And like you said, Tony Twist, and a lot of people like Kelly Chase, and I love Kelly Chase. He was a good fighter, a good enforcer. When he checked you, you knew it. But Tony Twist just had a different body type. He's, like you said, he's wide and he's thick. He has a thick upper body, big legs, and you get into a fight with him or have him hit you in the boards, it's gonna hurt.
Oh yeah, he reminded me so much of Bobby. Right?
Yeah.
He just reminded me so much of Bobby. Bobby, see, a lot of people look at Bobby and they act like Bobby didn't have hockey skill. Bobby was an amazing hockey player.
Well, a lot of people get all tied into stats. It's like the whole thing. Ovechkin's the best player ever. Well, no, he's not. Even if he passes Gretzky in goals, he's not the best player ever. It's about stats. It's about the career. I judge players by stats, career, how they were in their game during their, what they meant to that game and their tenure during their playing career, and Hart trophies, stuff like that. And I don't judge guys by Stanley Cup. There's people out there that say Sidney Crosby's a top 3 player all time in the NHL. No, he's not a top 3 all time player in the NHL. He's just not. He's a very good player and one of the top Penguins of all time. But in my mind, and people are going to argue with me, I'll take Yager at 23 and Lemieux at 23 over Sidney Crosby at 23 any day of the week.
I'll agree with you on that. I have him in my top 10.
Yeah,
I would
he's
put
a top
Crosby in my
player. He's
top
just
10.
not a top 2 or 3 guy,
Yeah.
And you got to look at a lot of people. They make their judgments based solely on stats and Stanley Cups. Look how many good players, Guy and Ashley, never won a Stanley Cup, but they're in the Hall of Fame, and they were very good players. It's like somebody said, and I love Jake Allen. I think Jake Allen's getting the shaft in Montreal because he's got no team in front of him. But it's like people used to just tear him apart. But and then somebody would say, well, he's a Stanley Cup winning goaltender. Yes, you are right. You are correct in that. But did he play in the Stanley Cup Finals, and did he have anything really to do with the Stanley Cup? Yes. He had something to do with playing excellent in that second half of the season, backing up Bennington after he had that terrible.
Well, he did play in Game 3 of the Finals.
Yeah, he did play that one game. You are right, but that win is for Bennington. To say that Jake Allen is as I've seen people say, a Hall of Fame goalie because he won a cup. No, that's not how I do it. And it's just
not even close. I mean, if you can't get Joseph in the Hall of Fame, you're not getting. And that's one right there. Curtis Joseph.
That's a shame.
Belongs, yeah, absolutely belongs. He just came in at a time when goaltenders like him, the league was so different. He was a great goalie. He never had solid teams around him. Though if he would have stayed in St. Louis and not been traded away, he more than likely would have been that goalie.
Yeah, he was. And, people complained about him. Well, he never won in the playoffs. Well, your team never played great in the playoffs with him. Yeah. I mean, I remember going to see games where he would face 45, 46 shots, give up 2 goals and lose 2-0 or 2-1, or give up 1 goal and lose 1-0. A lot of people just don't give him credit. And I think it falls into, sometimes people see a guy that's played with 5, 6, 7 teams, and they think, well, yeah, he played a long time, but he's not that good. Curtis Joseph was a sound goalie, a really good goalie. He's a Hall of Fame goaltender. Ask Grant Fuhr. Curtis Joseph is a Hall of Fame goaltender.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Hey, Ashley, we've been talking too much.
No, you're fine. It's interesting. I'm good.
Well, I wanted to bring, we talked a little bit about this without Lance, but I want to talk about this with Lance. The e-bug situation, right? It's normally not a big deal. However, with COVID, it's becoming used more and more, right? I'm starting to get concerned that one of these e-bugs is going to get hurt. Right? Should the NHL require that the e-bug be a guy that has professional hockey experience and, within a decent amount of time?
I would think if they really want to make the game, flow properly, and they want to keep the quality of play there, I think they need to make him either top AHL goalie, somebody that's got some experience, something like that. But to do that, there's so many changes they need to do because of COVID. Number one, I don't want them playing in Japan. Like I brought up the other night on your show.
Yeah.
And somebody said, no, I'm wrong. If they get COVID over there, they won't be quarantined. They most certainly will be quarantined.
Yeah.
And they're quite not sure if they may have to be quarantined when they come back in the U.S. So let's say that David Perron or Ryan O'Reilly goes over there, or Jordan Bennington for Canada. They go over there and one of them gets COVID. Not only do they miss the Olympics for 10 or 14 days, they come back over here and they may miss another 10 days.
Yeah.
If I'm Gary Bettman, I know this is going to cause a lot of hatred with some fans because talk about representing the country, and I understand people's feelings about that. But this is about keeping a product good on the ice, and if you don't make good decisions, you could really mess up. Because let's say that Ottawa had that big COVID run on their team. What if some of those players would have been in Japan and got COVID? It would have devastated.
It is interesting. No, it's a very interesting statement, and it's a high likely possibility. I'm sure, and I'm not taking anything from the NHL. I think that they're looking at the situation. I'm sure that it's being brought up that they're going to do the best they can to protect the players. However, I don't know. I mean, short of Team USA going over in private jets, you just don't know. Right?
Yeah, and that's not what they're doing. Normally,
I'm not talking Team USA hockey. I'm talking Team USA.
Yeah.
All 1,500 athletes.
Yeah, normally, they're going to take separate flights. That there may be a gymnastic team on one flight, and then the hockey team. I guarantee you, the hockey players are going to all be on individual flights or flights with a couple other players. And to me, that's just ridiculous because you're really opening yourself up to stuff that way. And that's a good point, Tanner. I noticed what you said there. And I think someday there may be women in NHL, but the only way that's going to happen, Tanner, is if they get rid of checking. Because I'm telling you right now, if a 6'5" guy, 200 pounds, goes in and checks some woman NHL player who's 5'5" and 180 into the boards, she's going to get hurt, or somebody's going to call him a tyrant or something like that. The rules will have to change to get women in the NHL. I'm not saying the women aren't talented enough. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that the size and the physicality of the game are different. And people can argue with me that all they want to. I've had people tell me the women's game is more physical and more violent. And I've watched a lot of women's hockey, and it's not. There's a lot more open play. And I'd love to see women in the league. I just don't think it's going to happen unless they change the rules.
No,
I mean, it would depend on the position. Like, I mean, there has been a woman goalie who played in, a preseason game. It would probably have to be women goalies. I just don't see with the checking. I'm with you on that, Lance.
Yeah, I would. And I've played against on the opposite side of some women goalies that are very, very good. And I definitely think they could break into the league that way. I think that's the way. And I'm not trying to be sexist or anything or say men are so much better. I'm just saying
there's a size difference.
There's a size difference. And number one, a lot of times women can have even better reflexes than men. Mm-hmm. So a goalie just makes sense, to bring a woman along in goal. And I was actually at the game she played against the Blues.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I got to see that. And I kept, when they announced her, I'm like, is that a woman? Because I was young. I'm like, no. And then they said her name again, and I'm like, I got to see the first woman to ever play in an NHL game. It was really cool.
That is so cool. I'm so jealous, but I think too little at that time. But yeah,
I was active duty at that time.
Yeah,
so
you probably were. Yeah, and I remember there were a lot of fans cheered her, but there were some guys of the old guard, the old drunk old men that were calling her names because she was a woman and making jokes about her 5-hole and just terrible stuff like that. But as a young man, I really thought it was something neat, and that's something I can always tell people. I was at that preseason game, and it was one of the, even though she only played that game there, I would say out of all my great NHL experiences and memories, that's one of them.
Yeah, she's also right now she's a studio / rink announcer for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yep.
And she does a great job.
Yeah.
She's got a book out. I've actually reached out to her a couple of times, but I'm a nobody. So
I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm listening to a lot of women on the broadcast teams, and she's probably one of the better ones. Some of the other ones, and it's the guys' fault too, because they don't get the women involved in the stream of the game, and it's more like one long conversation. And
my issue with John Buccigross the other day, the game with the Blues, they were talking about where they thought that this guy had gotten his first goal, and he's going, they didn't hit the puck. They're still playing with that puck if it's his goal. Dude, every single goal scored puck is taken off the ice. Every single one of them. It's taken off the ice and taken to the scorer's table.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If the team had wanted it, they'd go to the scorer's table later and get it.
That's right.
Right? Because I watched it. I sat right there and watched it. Every time a goal. And not only that, I have goal-scored pucks.
Yeah,
right?
and they'll go over and get it. And there's times even with the Blues, I think it was either Kyrie or Thomas's first goal. I can't remember, one of them younger guys. Maybe it was even a while back from there. They didn't get the puck, and I was wondering about it. But there was a picture of him afterwards with tape on it, first NHL goal with the date. So those guys do get those pucks back.
Yeah, no, because it goes.
He should know better than that.
Puck now.
Every
goal scored puck. Yeah, and that was. But every goal scored puck goes to the scorer's table.
Yeah.
And they tape it up. I've watched them, and they have a cooler with like 12, 15 pucks in it. And
I want to ask you guys this, because I know we talked about this in the past. You guys know my thoughts on it, and I tried to warn you about ESPN's coverage of the NHL. What is your grade so far, Ashley? I'll start with you, Guy, if you don't mind. What is your grade so far overall for what you've seen from ESPN?
I mean, I want to be optimistic that it's going to get better. So right now I'm going to give them a C, but I'm not enjoying how one-sided it seems. Like we played against Chicago and it was like we had the Chicago broadcasters on ESPN. And I don't really like it. I think one game they were talking about what sandwiches they were going to get.
Yep.
I'm not impressed.
Yep.
Yeah, the chicken parm. Yeah.
Guy?
I felt, see, now in the 90s, that was a big thing, right? And we had that guy. I can't remember who it was. He was on the Blues for a while, but the chicken parm started in Atlanta. He went from the Thrashers to the Blues, and I can't remember it. But
I can't either.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
I want to say Keith Primeau.
No, we didn't have Keith Primeau.
You didn't have him?
No.
But it was something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Primeau might have been the one that started the chicken farm, so maybe he didn't. I think it was him that started it, but that's old. They're still trying to bring in the old stuff. For me, I give them a D right now because, first of all, they did not do a very good job of going out there and hiring guys that knew what they were doing, right? You got to hire guys. And they just tried, and it does. And I don't mean this it feels like they just hired a bunch of women. Say we have women in the game.
I would agree with you. I think there are a couple of them that are very well qualified that can call a game, but just like men, there's just because they were a hockey player or they played in juniors or whatever doesn't make them automatically a good announcer or a color person. And there's got to be a chemistry, because you can only be a good color person if the person next to you is calling a good game. If the person next to you is talking too much and trying to get you involved in discussions, what's a woman supposed to do? Say, hey guys, let's need to get back to the game here. She's going to be called unprofessional. So it kind of goes both ways. A team needs to kind of play off each other. And right now, the men aren't playing off the women announcers mostly, and the women aren't doing a good job of playing off the men. So it's kind of going back and forth there.
No, it is, and I think just part of it is a learning process, and they didn't get much of a learning process.
No.
Right? They didn't get like time to bring it in or do other games or
Because
first of all,
because you remember
this is what ESPN should have done.
Yeah, because you remember, Guy, years ago, you didn't get to call an NHL game until you called an AHL game or a college game or an international game. Then you got an NHL gig. Now they're just taking players, women players, former players, and guys, and just throwing them out there. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're good. No, Tanner, you're right. It shouldn't be about female or male parts, and it should be about people that can call the game.
That's exactly right. I don't care if it's a one-legged man with no arms or a one-legged woman with no arms. That's my point of getting back to where they used to make you do AHL games. They used to. In other words, what I'm saying there, Tanner, is it's nothing against women and it's nothing against men. Is there used to be a process to where you got trained. So by the time you called an NHL game, you knew how the flow of the game went. You knew, how to be a color commentator if that was your job. You knew to how to be the guy that called the game or the woman that called the game. That was your job. And there's not enough training. And I'm with her. I don't care what color you are, what religion you are, what sect you are. All I care about is if I'm listening to you, do you make that game interesting? Do you make that game fun? Do you bring it to life? That's all I care about.
I agree. And see, what I think ESPN, where they really screwed up this season, they should have went and had a crew at every single preseason game and called every single preseason game. That's where you make your mistake. That's where you can make your mistakes and get forward. And they didn't. They weren't there. There was no, none of the Blues home games were shown. Right. And if they were on the app. They weren't open out there. They weren't on ESPN. There were. I just feel like the games should have been where ESPN got their at and able to work out. There were enough games there to work out some bugs, and the bugs worked out. Right. If you're going to call national games, but be ready for it. And they're not. They're just not. So what they're showing.
And like Ashley said, if Chicago's playing a game against the Blues, don't have the Blues announcers do it and don't have Chicago announcers do it. I know Darren Payne can be, he can be in between and call a good game between the Blues and Chicago if he had to and be fair, and so can John Kelly. But some of these guys, they have so strong ties, like Eddie Olczyk. I'm sorry he had cancer and went through all that, and I really do understand that. And when he came back, I wished him the best on our Twitter account and everything. But when he calls a Chicago game, he's a former Chicago player. He's always going to be more positive about Chicago. And I think you lose a little bit of, respectability with the game if you have a guy in there that you can just tell is just so pro, a certain team. It's not going to be a good experience for all the fans.
This is good, yeah. So that Buccigross called Bennington, Craig Bennington. That was pretty funny.
He's done that since the year after the Stanley Cup.
I don't think Berube's coming back.
He's not. He's not because Guy, we've seen this before with other coaches. The Blues very rarely have a lame duck coach. Hell, in fact, they brought in the heir apparent Mike Yeo with the old coach still there.
Yeah, I know that was not
Doug Armstrong's style. If Doug Armstrong has confidence in a coach, as last year, he normally signs him before that last year starts or right at the beginning of the season.
That's what I thought.
Like I talked about. And I want to get Ashley's thought on this. I personally think, and Guy thinks too, that, and I don't think I've heard Ashley's thoughts on this, but it's not just by coincidence that they brought in Ken Hitchcock as an advisor. It's not.
No, it's not at all.
Yeah.
And I could see if they wanted to postpone signing him until, after Christmas and do it in that break. But if it's not done by then, it's not happening at all.
Yep. I personally think he's gone by January. I don't know what part of January, but unless this team really improves, and I mean, starts winning 3 out of 5 games, 4 out of 6 games, something like that, and they really play well, I don't think his time here is going to be past January. I just don't. And that's why I think they got Hitchcock there, because he can slide right in and be a coach for a couple months and do what they can.
I have to agree with that. I mean, I'm not so anti-Berube as some people might, see, but I am very much into the same opinion as you guys, that he's not making adjustments appropriately or using his players to their best potential. So I definitely can see this happening, what you're saying.
The
January
Tarasenko
sometime.
deal to me and the Hoffman deal, those were both because of Berube. And to lose Hoffman like we did, I mean, for the very minuscule amount that we lost him for, $500,000. That's what we lost him for, right? That's what he got. He got a $500,000 raise per year for 3 years. We could have found that money.
A lot of people I've seen online going, I'm so glad we got rid of Hoffman. Saad, Saad's much better, or Buchnevich is much better. Go back and look through Buchnevich's career and Hoffman's career, and Saad, especially Saad. Buchnevich is probably a little bit closer in goals, but Saad's nowhere near the amount of goals that Hoffman's had. I mean, what did he score last year? Was it 26?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And that was that was partially because he was on he played third line minutes.
Yeah, he played third. You're talking about a guy that if he plays first, second line minutes, probably last year would have got 35 goals in my mind. Plus, they weren't used, even when they put him in there, they weren't using him properly. Look what happened when Berube started using him. Yeah. I was hoping they'd sign Hoffman, and I told you guys, I said, nah, he's going to Montreal. And, he's a good player. And you know what? Regardless of whether he plays defense or not, it's hard to find guys that are natural goal scorers. He can't set himself up, and he needs to be set up by a good center, like O'Reilly or Thomas or somebody like that. But when he gets the puck, he knows where to put it, and that's hard to find.
I agree with you on that. By the way, he had 17 goals, 19 assists for 36 points in 52 games.
Yep.
He's not doing so well this season, but he started off with an injury that he had gotten in the offseason. He's got 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points in 14 games. But, I mean, he's also playing on a team that's not playing very well.
Yep.
So, I mean, he probably might be wishing that he would have, signed here. But I'm kind of still on the whole, I wish we would have kept him. But it worked out in the end because Saad is producing. Buchnevich is producing. I mean, you can, wish that something went the way you wanted it to, but in the end, it still worked out better.
Yeah, I like Brandon Saad and Buchnevich. I think they're very good players, and I just wish they would have handled it a little bit differently. I think they've got the guys that Armstrong made some good moves with those two right there.
Oh, yeah.
He
definitely some good moves. And he did it for the right amount of money. He didn't overpay. And, I've got no beefs about them. I just think that the organization misjudged Hoffman.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Because he was misused.
Well, that's what I was saying about Berube. He doesn't use his players to their potential.
Well, the Tarasenko is an absolute. Here's a guy, and then to come out and say, he did not get minutes because he's not playing well, or he's not being offensive. Well, you know what? Put him back in an offensive position and tell him not to go down and do a forecheck anymore, because that's what you wanted him to do. Don't sit there and tell me that he's not being offensive. Not being offensive because you told him not to be.
Well,
I'm sorry, but
you got to look at it this way. The question I ask people, and I'm not comparing Tarasenko to Ovechkin or to Gretzky or Lemieux or any of those guys, but the question I ask people is this: when they talk about Tarasenko not scoring enough, I said, well, let's say that Gretzky would have had a defensive coach and said, okay, Wayne, you put defense first. I don't want you streaking down the ice with the puck. I want you to stay in the zone. I don't want you looking for outlet passes. I don't want you doing outlet passes. I want you to stay in the zone and be sound. defensively. He probably would still be one of the top leading scorers, but he wouldn't be by far. I mean, he's got more assists than people have points.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just like, look at Brett Hall. Brett Hall went to Dallas, and because he finally bought in to Hitch's system, and Hitch was not playing him enough because he wasn't playing defense. He finally bought into it, but he scored about half to 40% of what he normally does.
He scored 40 goals that season.
Yeah, if Brett Hall had not played on a team that put defense first and was able to play past that the league stoppage that year, 2005 or 6, I believe, that he would probably be number 2 in goals because he was heading that way. And it just goes to show that regardless of what type of player you are, if your coach doesn't use you properly, it affects your stats.
Okay, here's the last question we're going to take for today. Does Sonny sit when we get people back? He looks off.
I think he's still got some lingering injury issues, and that it would probably be a good idea to let him have a little bit of a breather. We have enough depth that we can afford to do it. I'm not saying that he needs to sit for an extended period of time, but yeah, we could probably let Sonny have a week off, and it wouldn't hurt anything.
Yeah,
it depends on it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, it depends, and it depends on whether we get Costin back or Neal back. If we get Neal back, I say no. If we get Costin back, I say yes.
Yeah, and you know the thing about Sonny, and you know I talked about it here before. I didn't think it was good for them to bring him back till December. You know, till the end of December, with that type of injury, and it just takes guys a while to get back on it. And the longer you let them heal, the less their recovery time when they come back on the ice is. Mm-hmm. You know, I've heard people say, well, he's as good as he's going to be. Well, that's not an excuse to play somebody. You're as good as you're going to be. Well, is that good enough to perform on the ice? And I think that they do need to rest him a little bit. You know, if you want to play him, if like you said, if Neal and Costin come back and you got different situations, different teams you're playing against, play him against teams where he's going to show up, or where you're going to be able to see his progress with his style of game. And when it's not, you know, put in Costin or put in Neal, whatever, you know. But eventually, I do want to see him play in every game because he's an every game player. But right now, I still think he's hurt a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that. But I also think that it doesn't even have to wait until Neal or Costin come back. Once we get Perron back, we could sit him because Brown's been playing so well. Joshua's been good.
That would put us, when we get him back, that gives us 12 forward.
Yeah.
So at this point, you still want to do if you do that, then you're still doing the 11 and the 7.
Yep.
Right. And my problem with doing the 11 and the 7 is, well, actually, I mean, I like the 11 and the 7 may work. I'm concerned with the Scandella play, right? I don't see Berube. He doesn't think outside of the box enough for me to go and stay. You know what? I'm going to stay here with the 11 and 7. I'm going to sit Scandella and I'm going to leave the defensemen playing the roles they're playing. I just see him not doing that, and then he's going to end up taking out either Wallman. And Wallman played. Wallman, Joshua, and Brown played out of their gourds in the last game.
Yeah, I would definitely I would definitely cut Scandella's minutes and put him on the last pairing. I think if he's on the last pairing, he doesn't get exposed as much. When he's up against the top line and everything, he gets exposed really, really easy. And it's like Berube's, it's like he's a square peg, and Berube's trying to fit him in a round hole. Mm-hmm. What he needs to make sure, he needs to file him down a little bit and make him a round peg and put him down on one of those lower lines. And I like Scandella, but when he came here, I knew if they played him too much, he would get exposed. And, you know, he's made a lot of mistakes in these last 5-6 games, a lot of mistakes.
Right. And I mean, the only good thing is he's not as bad as Sanford was, because, you know, almost every one of Sanford's mistakes ended up in the back of the net. Only about half of Scandella's end up in the back of the net, but it's still the fact that he makes the mistakes at very critical times.
And I agree that he does need to sit. I've been saying that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
However, if it's an issue of Sundqvist needing a break and us continuing to play that to give him a day or two off, I say we postpone sitting Scandella and let Sundqvist, breathe so he doesn't injure it worse.
And that's a fair point. We need Perron back though,
We really do.
And even though Perron's not producing goals or assists, he's producing opportunities, right? And that's what I'm looking for.
Actually, not the game he got injured in because he only played a few minutes, but the game prior he had 2 assists in. Maybe it was the game before that. The last game he played a full game, he had a goal, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
So he was coming back.
He was coming back, but he's also providing opportunity because he's getting double teamed. Tarasenko gets double teamed, and they provide opportunity. And if you put the right guys with them, like Kyrou needs to be with faster guys. Right? Yes, he's a top line guy. He can play top line minutes. I don't have a problem with that. But when he has a center and a setup guy that aren't as fast as him, he outskates his coverage. He gets down there, and if he's all alone, a lot of times he can't take the shot. He's got to go into the corner and get forechecked, hoping somebody comes and helps him out.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times also, if you notice, the players, when they see him down there by himself, they kind of look shocked that he's already down there. It kind of, they also need to know when they play with him to look for him streaking out of the zone because he's that type of player. If you start looking for him more often, he's going to get the puck and be one-on-one where he might be able to get the puck through some legs or get a good opportunity. And I think it goes both ways.
He's done that a couple of times. He just didn't capitalize, but I've seen him do it at least 3 times this season.
Yeah. He needs to make sure his teammates are in the play with him, but they also need to make sure to watch. Hey, we got Kyrou on this line. If he's got an opportunity, he's going to try to break out, and we need to be looking for him at times.
We got to get him off the wing, and that's the problem. When he comes down center, he's going to score. But on the wing, he just seems to not have a good move going across the crease.
He gets himself into the boards. He gets himself into the boards sometimes when he gets on that wing. He allows players to dictate him to go into the boards. And that's something a young player needs to learn. And like you said, when he's more in the center of the ice, the open ice, he's a lot more deadlier than when he's 5 feet from the boards because that player knows then he may be faster than me, have a step on me, but if I can get in front of him and put him into the boards, we're going to be fine.
Yep. And that's the thing. He's not McKinnon who's going to slip that hit. He's not slipping the hit. He's not aware of the hit. Well, guys, we're a little bit over an hour. What a great show. Lance, I'm so glad you're feeling better, man. We got our show tomorrow at 8 o'clock, and you're welcome to come on. I know on Tuesday for game day you have something else going on, but if you're done by the post-game show, you're welcome to come on the post-game show. We love having you anytime. I mean, I know you got some issues right now, and it's harder for you to do the drop, and if we're your connection, well, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me this form of media, allow me to rant a little bit and give my opinion, and I'm glad you both appreciate it. And I'm just trying to get by until we get more things going here and see what they can do to help with my health. And I have bad days and good days, just like when I have my stroke. It's just that I'm having more bad days now with this new stuff. So hopefully they'll get it taken care of, and I'll keep you posted on that. And it's always a fun time talking with you and Ashley. And like I said before, I love it when she comments, but I also love it when she sits there and she gets this look in her eye like, boy, they're really going.
Well, there was one time I was actually going to be like, hey, let me say something, because when we were talking about that fourth goal that they had scored the other day that we were putting on Husso, the other person that you can blame is we need to win our face-offs when we're in our zone.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the whole thing you can blame on that.
Good point.
Yeah. Good point.
Otherwise, yeah.
You got it. Well, guys, thank you so much. This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, for Lance from the Drop Hockey Podcast, to Scott and Ashley Slapshot Jones saying aloha, mahalo, and we can't wait to see you tomorrow on the Hockey Fan Report. You got to know that we're bleeding blue.
Let's go blue.
We're bleeding blue with you. Aloha.